So I'm going to give you kind of a really brief summary of the first maybe 20-30 minutes of a red dot class that I would be giving to a new red dot shooter. This is my whole spiel on how to think about the red dot and how to overcome and completely take that learning curve that everybody talks about and you can just keep that, okay? Just get that out of my house, all right? Because I don't want to hear about it. I know a lot of people think of it that way, and that's fine. It's not a big deal. But the more and more people really start getting in tune and doing some extensive work with the red dots, they start to see the red dot as a different thing. And I'm going to tell you a few little things here that are going to hopefully, get sunk in your brain and make you look at the red dot a whole new way. I don't want to teach people how to shoot. I want to teach people how to think about shooting. I want to teach people how to teach themselves how to shoot, okay? And this red dot is what I call, I talk about the red dot like it is a instructor sitting on top of your gun. This red dot is taking notes the entire time you are shooting. This red dot is telling you a story about your shooting, about your index points, about your skill set and where you are at right now. So between the red dot telling you a story, the target telling you a story, and the timer telling you a story, are you listening? And that is it. That is the entire key to self-development. Iron sights, they do the exact same thing. The red dot, though, is a little bit easier to see. So fundamentally, in function, the red dot and the iron sights, they are the exact same thing. They are simply a visual aid so that we know where the barrel of this gun is pointed and where the round is going to strike if everything goes according to plan. Same exact thing as the iron sights. The only difference between this and the iron sights, the main difference I should say, is the visual sensitivity. They are both just as sensitive and just as susceptible to movement or twitchiness or bad grip or bad index point, bad top triangle. Both sighting systems are exactly the same in sensitivity. But in visual sensitivity, the red dot lets you see all those little micro mistakes, all those little micro adjustments, all those little micro misalignments. The red dot lets you see them in just blatantly showing it to you. Okay, this thing is taking notes. It is an instructor sitting on top of your gun. And I just pray to God that people understand what I'm saying by that and really take that to heart and understand that this sighting setup and this sighting setup are absolutely the same thing. They are absolutely the same. Absolutely. So, two things that we need to really dial in. Two index points that we need to dial in. Two indexes, two skills that we need to dial in to be able to use this dot at its full potential. Number one, repeatable grip. Repeatable grip. Being able to build that repeatable grip. Build that repeatable grip. Build that repeatable grip. And if you watch my channel a good bit, you know what I'm going to say next. You know what I'm going to say next. The top triangle. Okay? Top triangle. If you've never seen my stuff before, top triangle is the triangle that our arms from our hands back to our shoulders and across the chest line form. Instead of talking about presentation, we're going to talk about that top triangle because the top triangle encompasses everything. Okay? We build grip, we stop, and that is our top triangle. And from here, this is where we do work with the pistol in a two-handed freestyle setup. Whether we are moving, leaned over, upside down, right side up, perfectly set up, okay? That top triangle index point is how you master this old girl right here. 100%. And if you don't have a 100% dialed in, repeatable grip, that red dot isn't going to be in that little screen when you throw it up there. And let's say you got a really repeatable grip, but your top triangle looks different every time. Those two index points and those two building the grip and building the top triangle, that's what leads to the fullest potential for this thing right here. Guess what? To be absolutely to your fullest potential with these iron sights, that repeatable grip and that top triangle are just as important. This gets a lot of extra stigma and extra stuff added to it, extra learning curve added to it that is absolutely non-existent. It takes steps out of the equation. It does not add steps. So let's talk about the 4 things real quick that people get hung up on. All right, these are the 4 things that I kind of talk about, and the 4 things that I see people talking about, the learning curve. Okay, first one, finding the dot off the draw, finding the dot off the presentation, finding the dot or keeping the dot in movement. Okay, repeatable grip, repeatable top triangle, finished, done. Absolutely no way that you have a really solid repeatable grip and a really solid top triangle index point where you throw that gun up and that dot is not in the screen. And if anyone ever says that they can throw up these iron sights and they have them perfectly aligned, equal height, equal light, every time they throw that gun up, but the dot is gone when they throw this gun up, they are not listening to the story that these sights are trying to tell. They are not being accountable. Okay, they're not. These are just less visibly sensitive. This thing will tell you the story on a loudspeaker. That thing tells you the story by whispering it to you. So the second thing, tracking the dot in recoil. Okay, again, let's talk about grip. That building that repeatable grip and running that gun. Okay, recoil control. You're not going to be able to track iron sights any better than you can track this dot. It's just a little bit more visibly sensitive. It's no different whatsoever. So if you tell me that you have extremely good recoil control and you can track your iron sights like a crazy person, but you can't do it with the dot, we have to see, are you listening to what that iron sighted gun is telling you? Are you really being accountable with your skill set? The third thing is going to be the actual target focus. Now this is a big problem for a lot of folks, and this is actually the only legitimate gripe I think people have a hard time with, or the only legitimate learning curve portion of learning the red dot. A lot of guys, they'll target focus, they'll bust a couple shots, next thing you know they're looking at the actual dot. Okay, it's a whole lot easier to look at that big target and let that dot bounce around on it, and we just break shots when the dot is in the right spot in relation to the target. If we try to follow that dot around and break shots when the target is in relation to the dot, that's a whole harder thing. You're watching a bouncing red ball go all around and trying to break a shot when it's on there. So we let the dot do what it wants to do. Okay, we want it to track straight up and down and everything, but we're boring a hole in that target with our eyeballs. Okay, so we truly have to target focus and make sure that you're doing this, and you can practice this. We can practice shooting into the berm where you're looking at just a little rock. You're not worried about the target at all. Just stare at a little rock or a little clod of dirt in that berm, and then boom, 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 drive that gun as hard as you possibly can, and just notice the dot. Don't watch the dot. Don't pay attention to the dot. Just notice it. Okay? That dot's just going in there. It's just doing its thing. What's it doing? Is it going this way? Is it going that way? Or is it going this way? All right? So, the fourth thing, this, when you get to a little bit of a higher level and you got the other three things kind of down, this is trusting the dot. So we are so used to using these iron sights, equal height, equal light, we know we're going to get the shot we want. Okay? when we're doing some real fast work, transition, bang, 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 and that dot ends up where we think we want it, there's this little bit of a hesitation to trust that that dot is actually where that bullet's going to go. So for that, we just have to really get it in our head that if that dot is on the target in the A zone, on the guy's chest, on the guy's face, whatever the situation you are in, whether it's shooting a match, shooting a drill, or shooting a guy, we have to trust wholeheartedly that this thing is going to do its job, because it will. If it's zeroed and it's done, as long as we do our job and do everything right behind the gun, it damn sure will do its job. And that does take a little bit of time and a little bit of rounds down range before you truly trust that dot, but it'll come. And then one little addendum to that is making sure that we don't over trust the dot and break shots, because I do this all the time still. I will simply be coming into a target or a transition and see the dot in the C zone and break the shot anyway. And I'm like, why did I just shoot that shot? I mean, I knew of course it's a Charlie. I saw it. I told myself, hey, Charles, how you doing? Pow. It's just, that happens. These are all little things that we can get better at. But those 4 things, honestly, they are very, very easy to get over. And eventually we'll do short videos on each one and go a little bit more in depth on each one as to how to get over it. Let me check the time on this. Wow. Holy hell, it's 15 minutes already. Hey, just wanted to add this into the end here. This is an El Prez from Concealment. 504 with 3 Charlies, so pretty good El Prez. I just wanted to add to the end of this video that I should have said this in the beginning, but the learning curve that's associated with the red dot is a mask for general pistol skill refinement. Okay, people realize that they have a unrefined skill set, and they blame it and mask it by saying it's the learning curve of the red dot, when the red dot is just illuminating the fact that your skills aren't as refined as you once thought. So don't get pissed off about it. Don't abandon the red dot. Allow it to teach you and refine those skills to new levels.